Oh my gosh, Ken, as I look around here, this makes me smile. This is a beautiful mechanical room right here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Also beautiful, and there's plenty of space. You actually had room to install some things, and there's room for service up here.
Absolutely.
So where do we start, Ken? Like, you want to talk about ERVs or dehumes, or do we talk about the sizing? There's so much to see in here.
Oh, there's a lot. I would say probably start with sizing, because that's where we start when we start a design.
Is your company doing the manual J's on this, or are you using an outside engineer on that?
Yeah, no, we did all of the manual JS, Ts, and Ts for this.
Fabulous.
For this job.
So this is not an easy house, though, to do a manual J on. I mean, there's a lot of volume here. You are wondering, like, what's the air tightness going to be? What's the level of insulation? What's that process look like for you?
Oh, well, it was quite time consuming.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, we start out with like basically the overall layout and put it in some design software and start putting in a bunch of data.
Yep.
And
Are you using RightSoft?
yeah, we are using RightSoft
here, sorry.
So we are using RightSoft to do this with.
Okay.
And that actually kind of does all of the pieces to a design.
So if someone's watching who doesn't know that, let me break that down real quick. What Ken's doing is modeling the house and saying, okay, we've got this amount of R value on the roof, we've got this amount of windows, we're facing this direction, we're in this climate that has this number of heating days, and it gets this cold, so that when you see this big box right here that's attached to an outdoor unit, Ken's sizing that correctly rather than just going, oh, let's put 500 square feet to the ton in, right? Which is what happens most of the time in Texas. Did I explain that pretty well?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good explanation.
And because the house was pretty tight and pretty, you know, you got a great, not pretty tight, extremely tight. This is a great envelope you're working with. Probably allowed you to size these loads differently than most Texas houses.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I've seen similar size houses that have almost double the amount of air conditioning of what we put in here, and this thing pulls down without any struggle.
So for a car analogy, it'd be like running a 4-cylinder engine on your car versus a big V8, right? Because this house is so efficient, we can run the whole house on a 4-cylinder. But what I want to point out, Ken, that I really love is we've got separate things for different purposes, right? We have 2 dehumidifiers up here.
Correct.
We have 2 heat pumps. That's the big carrier boxes you're seeing. The Santa Fe's are dehumidifiers that are attached. And then we also have 2 fresh air dedicated units, one for the kind of people portion of the house and then one for the main space.
Correct.
Talk to me about sizing for all that different equipment.
Okay, yeah, there's a lot that kind of went into that. So I think, first of all, I'd like to tell you about the living room space. You saw how large that was?
Yep.
That was our challenging area of this house,
yeah,
because we had no real good way of putting duct in the house without it looking kind of bad.
Sure.
And so what we ended up having to do is it's called the manual T piece, right? That's the termination piece of the calculation. It's you know, you can put the right size, but you have to make sure that it actually throws the air where it's supposed to throw it.
Makes sense.
And we had to pour through a ton of engineering data, which is why those boots are actually fairly small. It was actually designed to throw completely across the room.
Because you needed the velocity to push that air all the way across.
Exactly.
So as you look at that gable wall, which was kind of opposite to the fireplace in their room, we look up, we're seeing those vents across there. Those vents are meant to throw that air all the way across the room, right?
Yeah, and that was the one that, you know, personally I was struggling and worrying about, and finally kind of said, okay, you got to trust the math, and the math says this will work. The engineering data for all of that said this will work, but you know, you always have that hesitation, that doubt in the back of your mind until you fire it up, and we were so pleased when it did what.
Well, when Josh and I walked in that door, we could feel that air coming right at you.
Right in the face.
That felt great.
Yeah.